Good morning, everyone. Today I will give you a brief introduction to quantitative research. So first, let's relearn some basic terms about quantitative research. So the first question is, what is research? It refers to systematic and investigative processes are employed to increase or revise current knowledge by discovering new facts. It can be divided into two general categories. One is basic research, and another one is applied research. Basic research is driven purely by curiosity and the desire to expand knowledge. So, the main intention of this research is to get general information and increase knowledge. Applied research is used to answer a specific question that has direct application to the world. So the main intention of this research is to solve problems. It aimed at using basic research for solving problems or developing new processes, products, or techniques. And next is the term fancy word, ontology. Ontology means how the researcher views the world and the assumptions that he makes about the nature of the world and of reality. That is to say, how the researchers, what the researchers believes about reality, whether he believes that there is a single truth or multiple truths. So it can also be divided into two main categories. One is realism, and another one is relativism. Realism means that the researcher believes there is only one truth exists and it doesn't change. He will use objective measurements and the result is generalizable. So to some extent, realism actually can be known through quantitative research. And opposite to realism, relativism is that there are multiple truths and it can be changeable because it's shaped by context and the truth evolves and changes and it may use in similar contexts. So to some extent it can be known to qualitative, and ontology can indicate epistemology. In epistemology can indicate methodology, and methodology can indicate method. I have talked about the ontology before, so next let's we talk about epistemology. Epistemology is the assumptions that the researcher makes about the best way of investigating the world and about reality. As to the different aspects, it can also be classified into two main views. One is ethic research, another one is amic research. Ethic means that the researcher, when he do the research study, he views the study from the outside. So it's objective and actually it's based on the realism. And amic, however, is from the inside. Is in from the researcher's view, so it's subjective and is more related to relativism. And epistemology can indicate methodology. Methodology cannot be equal to method. Methodology is the way that the researcher groups together their his or her research techniques to make a coherent picture. It means how the knowledge is discovered and analyzed in a systematic way. Um, it can also be divided into two main parts. One is experimental methodology, and another one is phenomenological. The keyword of experimental methodology is proof and cost. Usually, the researcher will adopt a deductive approach. First, he has a theory and he will make the hypothesis, and then he will find a pattern analysis to test a theory, whether it will the result will prove the theory or disapprove it. Another one is phenomenological methodology. The keyword is lived experiences. So the researcher will adopt an inductive approach, opposite to the deductive approach. This approach first he will find a pattern analysis and have hypothesis, and finally comes to the theory. So actually, the former experimental research is based on realism and ethic, while the latter one is based on relativism and from an amic way. And methodology can indicate method. Method is what you actually do in order to collect your data and carry out your investigations. So that is the data gathering techniques such as interviews, surveys, direct observations, and so on. So the next part is some main characteristics of quantitative research. First is emphasizes objective measurements and analysis of numerical data. It mainly use statistics and will make use of large sample sizes and analyze large sample sizes, and will have comprehension, comparison of groups of all relating factors by experiments, correlational studies, or surveys, and it will explain through numbers. The next part is we should learn some important ethnic issues when we do the study. After I search for the information, I mainly find these three aspects. The first one is informed consent. It means that when the researcher is conducting research, the participant should know knowingly and be voluntarily and intelligently in a very clear and manifest way gives his consent. It means that the researcher can't force the participant to do the study. The second aspect is not be harmful. That is to say, discomfort and harm can be physiological, emotional, social, and economic aspect. It can't harm the participant from this aspect. And the third issue is respect. The researcher should respect the participant privacy, anonymity, and confidentiality. Privacy is a freedom, and an individual has to determine the time, extent, and the general circumstances under which private information will be shared with or withheld with others. Anonymity is protected when the subject identity cannot be linked with personal responses, and confidentiality means that individuals are free to give and withhold as much information as they wish to the person they choose. So, except these ethnical issues, actually there are many issues. I think these three aspects are the most important ones. So when the researcher do the study, they should consider this aspect. And the final part is application. That is what should I use this knowledge to my future study? I think it depends on my research questions and purposes. Since in my future study, I will focus on narrow reading and vocabulary. So this is my main topic. First, I may adopt the basic research to gather information about the narrow reading, to learn as much to learn as much knowledge as possible of the narrow reading. And then I will maybe I will use questionnaire to collect information about students' weak part. That is the vocabulary. So and then I will use some. Then I will use the tasks. May use two groups. One is control group. One is the traditional group, to test to use the method to expand their vocabulary. So that is my presentation. Thank you.